The rain had been merciless all day, hammering the streets of the city until everything was slick and shining under the glow of the streetlights. By evening, the air carried a chill that seeped into bones, making the wealthy tuck deeper into their coats and the weary huddle in doorways for shelter. Eliza stood at the corner of a bustling street, her baby Daniel pressed tightly against her chest in a sling. Her coat was frayed, damp at the sleeves, and the soles of her shoes squelched with every step. At her feet were two bags, one small, overstuffed backpack and a battered suitcase with a broken zipper. Those bags contained her entire world. She had just finished another long shift cleaning offices downtown, her hands raw from bleach and scrubbing, her body aching from bending and hauling. Every evening was the same. She left the office after the wealthy executives had gone home, and she slipped into the night like a shadow, unnoticed and unwanted. Inside her, though, burned a fierce love for her son. Every blister, every insult she endured from people who looked down at her, every night she slept on thin mattresses in overcrowded shelters, it was all for him. For his tiny fingers that curled around hers, for the way his big eyes blinked up at her, trusting that she would somehow make the world kinder for him. That night, exhausted and soaked, she ducked into a café. The place smelled of roasted coffee beans and sugar, a scent so warm it almost made her cry. People filled the tables, laughing, typing on laptops, sipping lattes topped with froth. Eliza slipped into a corner, keeping her bags tucked close so no one would trip over them, and whispered to Daniel, "Just a little warmth, baby. We'll leave soon." She rocked him gently, watching the world she didn't belong to unfold around her. That was when she noticed him. A man sat at the far corner table, alone. His suit was cut to perfection, his watch gleamed even in the dim cafe light, and his posture carried an authority that silenced the space around him. He barely moved, simply sipped his coffee while glancing at documents on a tablet. But the staff hovered near him with extra attentiveness, as if his presence carried weight. Eliza didn't know his name. To her, he was just another one of them, the untouchable, the successful, the kind who lived in glass towers far above the streets she trudged. When Daniel began fussing, Eliza knew it was time to go. She murmured soothing words, kissed his head, then bent down to grab her suitcase. Her hand was halfway to the handle when a deep, commanding voice cut through the noise. "Don't touch that." The words froze her in place. Her breath caught as she turned her head. The man, the suited one, the untouchable one, was standing beside her now. His gaze was fixed on her bags, sharp and unwavering. Eliza instinctively pulled Daniel closer, her body going rigid. I'm sorry," she stammered, humiliated that she'd drawn attention. "I was just leaving." But he shook his head. "No, leave the bags where they are." Her stomach twisted with fear and confusion. Those are mine," she whispered. "I know." His voice softened slightly, though the authority never left it. "But I want to see what's inside." The cafe had gone quieter. People nearby slowed their conversations, pretending not to eavesdrop but leaning in nonetheless. Heat rushed to Eliza's cheeks. She wanted to vanish, to melt into the shadows. Why was this stranger, this powerful man, interested in her ragged belongings? "No," she said, her voice trembling but firm. "They're just clothes and baby things. Please, just let us go." Something flickered in his eyes. He wasn't angry, he wasn't mocking her. He was searching. "Please," he said after a long pause, "sit with me." Just for a moment, Eliza hesitated. Every instinct told her to run, but her body was heavy with exhaustion, and there was something in his tone, not cruel, not demanding, but resolute, that anchored her. Slowly, reluctantly, she lowered herself back into the chair, Daniel fussing softly in her arms. The man sat across from her, studying her with unnerving intensity. Finally, he nodded toward the suitcase. "That bag, I know it." Her eyebrows knitted together. "That's impossible. I bought it secondhand months ago." "There are initials," he said quietly. "On the inside flap. C. W." Her breath caught. She had noticed those faded letters once but thought nothing of them. How do you know that?" she asked. His jaw tightened, his expression clouded with memory. "Because it belonged to my sister. Claire Williams. She died 12 years ago." Eliza stared at him, stunned into silence. The cafe around them blurred into nothing. She shook her head. "I didn't know. I swear, I just found it in a thrift shop." "I believe you." His voice was steady, but his eyes carried a grief so deep it softened his commanding presence. Seeing it again is like seeing her ghost. She carried that bag everywhere, stubborn as ever. And now it's here, with you. Eliza lowered her gaze, embarrassed yet strangely moved. I'm sorry for your loss. He nodded slightly, then leaned forward. Tell me, why are you out here, carrying your child from place to place? The question pierced through her defenses. She wanted to keep her pride, but his voice carried no judgment, only curiosity, and something else. Something human. So she told him. She told him about the man she had loved, who promised the world but abandoned her the moment responsibility weighed too heavy. She told him about juggling jobs, being turned away from apartments for not having steady income, about nights in shelters where she prayed her baby wouldn't catch a cold in the drafty rooms. As the words poured out, her throat tightened, and tears threatened. But she forced her chin up, adding, I don't want pity. I just need to keep going. For him. She kissed Daniel's forehead. The man, Adrian Cole, though she didn't know his name yet, watched her in silence. And then, softly but firmly, he repeated the words that had first startled her. Don't touch that. This time, his meaning was different. Because from now on, you won't need those bags. Not the broken zipper, not the worn clothes stuffed inside. You and your child deserve better. Eliza's chest tightened. Her instinct was to recoil. Offers of help had always come with strings attached, with expectations that twisted into more pain. Why? She whispered. Why would you care? Adrian leaned back, his eyes never leaving hers. Because my sister was like you. Brave, stubborn, determined to protect the people she loved. And she believed in lifting others when they had no one else. If she were alive, she would have sat in this very chair and told me, don't let her leave like this. His voice faltered just slightly. And for the first time in years, I feel her spirit again. Through you. Eliza's tears finally fell, hot against her chilled skin. I can't accept this. You don't even know me. But I want to, Adrian said simply. The silence between them was heavy but not suffocating. Around them, the cafe hummed faintly back to life, but neither noticed. For the first time in years, Eliza felt something foreign in her chest, hope. She thought of Daniel, of the endless nights she had rocked him while praying for a miracle she no longer believed in. And here sat a man, a stranger with everything, offering not pity but a chance. Slowly, with trembling hands, she nodded. All right. Adrian's face softened into something rare, almost tender. Then it settled. Leave the bags. You won't need them where you're going. Eliza glanced at the battered suitcase, the backpack bursting at the seams. They had been her burden, her anchor, her only constant. Letting go felt terrifying, but as Daniel stirred against her, as Adrian's words lingered, she realized those bags no longer defined her. When she finally stood, she left them behind. And for the first time in a very long time, she stepped out into the rain not as a shadow, but as a woman walking toward a new beginning. The rain drummed relentlessly against the city sidewalks, blurring the neon lights into streaks of color. Inside the cafe, the air was warm and fragrant with roasted coffee beans. Customers typed away on laptops, couples chatted over pastries, and the world felt safe and comfortable, at least for everyone but Eliza. She sat in the farthest corner, her body slumped with exhaustion. Her baby, Daniel, nestled in a sling against her chest, whimpered softly. She kissed the crown of his damp curls and whispered, "Shush, it's all right. Just a little longer." At her feet were two bags. One was a faded backpack that bulged at the seams with diapers and a few cans of powdered formula. The other was a battered suitcase, one wheel broken, its handle wrapped in tape. Inside it lay everything else she owned. 2 baby blankets, a handful of clothes, and a handful of mementos too painful to part with. She had been working since dawn, cleaning an office building until her hands were raw, then rushing across town to collect Daniel from her neighbor's cramped apartment. By the time she stumbled into the cafe, her legs ached so badly she thought they might give out. She hadn't come for coffee, she couldn't afford it. She had come for warmth, for a moment of rest before braving the cold streets again. Her plan was simple. Sit for 5 minutes, then take her bags and go. She bent down to grab the suitcase handle. Don't touch that. The voice was deep, steady, commanding. It froze her in place. Eliza's head jerked up, and her breath caught. A man stood over her, tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a suit so immaculate it looked as though the rain outside wouldn't dare touch it. His dark hair was slicked back, and his eyes, piercing, unwavering, were fixed on her bags. I'm sorry, Eliza stammered. Heat rose in her cheeks as she hugged Daniel tighter. I was just leaving. But the man shook his head. No, Leave the bags where they are. Confusion swelled inside her chest. Those are mine, she whispered, her voice trembling. I know, he said. His tone softened, but only slightly. That's why I want to see them. The cafe had grown quieter, curious eyes turning toward the scene. Eliza's humiliation deepened. Why would this powerful-looking stranger be interested in her battered belongings? Please, she said, her voice breaking. There's nothing in them but baby clothes and old things. Let me go. But the man didn't move. He studied her face, the dark circles under her eyes, the way she shielded her baby instinctively. Something flickered in his gaze, something sharp yet strangely familiar. Finally, he gestured to the chair opposite hers. Sit. Just for a moment, please. Eliza hesitated. Every instinct told her to run, but exhaustion anchored her in place. She sank back into her chair, clutching Daniel as though he were her lifeline. The man sat across from her, his gaze never leaving the suitcase at her feet. That bag, he said quietly. I know it. Her brow furrowed. That's impossible. I bought it secondhand months ago. There are initials, he replied. His voice was lower now, almost reverent. On the inside flap, C. W. Eliza froze. She remembered those faint, faded letters, though she'd never thought much of them. Her lips parted. How do you know that? His jaw tightened. His eyes grew distant, haunted. Because it belonged to my sister. Claire Williams. She carried it everywhere until she died 12 years ago. Eliza's world tilted. The stranger's authority, his sharpness, it cracked for a brief moment, and grief spilled through. I didn't know, she whispered. I swear, I didn't. I believe you, he said firmly. Then he leaned closer. But you have to understand, that bag meant everything to her. And now, somehow, it's here. With you. Eliza's heart pounded. She wanted to ask what this meant, what he wanted from her, but words failed. And that was how her life, already hanging by threads, began to unravel in ways she could never have expected. Part 2. The revelation. The man's name, she learned, was Adrian Cole, CEO of one of the city's largest tech firms, a man whose life was written about in glossy magazines, whose face appeared in business headlines. He should have been galaxies away from a girl like her. Yet here he was, staring at her with something she couldn't quite name. Adrian's voice dropped lower, gentler now. Tell me, Eliza, why are you carrying your life in 2 bags? She wanted to stay silent, to protect herself from pity or worse. But the sincerity in his eyes, raw, unguarded, broke her defenses. So she told him about the man she had once loved, who left when she was 6 months pregnant. About the eviction notice, the string of jobs that barely kept food on the table, the nights in shelters where she held Daniel close and prayed no one would steal their bags. Her voice shook, but she lifted her chin. I don't want pity. I just need to keep moving forward. For him. She kissed Daniel's forehead. Adrian listened without interrupting, his expression unreadable but his eyes burning with intensity. When she finished, she expected silence. Instead, he repeated the words that had started it all. Don't touch that. This time, the words carried a different weight. Because from today onward, Adrian said, you won't need those bags. Not the broken zippers, not the torn blankets. You and your son deserve more than scraps and shelter lines. Eliza's chest tightened. Why? She whispered. Why would you care? He hesitated, then said, because my sister would have cared. Claire believed in helping people when no one else would. Seeing you here, with her bag, no less, it feels like she's telling me not to let you walk away. His voice cracked, just slightly. And I can't ignore that. Tears stung Eliza's eyes. She shook her head. I can't accept something like this. You don't even know me. But I want to, Adrian said simply. His gaze locked with hers, steady and resolute. The cafe faded into background noise. Eliza's thoughts tumbled in chaos, fear, pride, disbelief, hope. She thought of Daniel, of the nights she had whispered promises she had no idea how to keep. Here, in front of her, was a man offering a lifeline. Slowly, almost painfully, she nodded. All right. Adrian's expression softened into something rare, a genuine smile. Then it settled. Leave the bags. You won't need them where you're going. Eliza's eyes dropped to the suitcase and backpack. For years, they had been her burden, her identity. Every scrape and tear told the story of her survival. Letting go felt terrifying. But as Daniel stirred in her arms, as Adrian's words echoed in her ears, she realized that survival wasn't enough anymore. Her son deserved more. When she stood, she didn't reach for the handles. For the first time in years, she left her bags behind. As she stepped into the rain once more, Adrian walked beside her. And though the storm still raged overhead, Eliza felt a flicker of warmth bloom in her chest, a fragile, astonishing thing called hope.